Lights, camera, action.
Can you believe, after all, your grad transfer quarterback is done, now he can come in and get
Can do it all, man.
started?
Do it all.
Yeah.
All-purpose quarterback.
What was it like last night before we had the official trophy presentation ceremony? I was kind of going over with you how it was going to go, and you said, then I hoist the hell out of it, right? What was that moment like for you?
I think, as a coach, you always think about that moment of hoisting this trophy. And it's just a moment that you think about. And so that's what I was referring to.
What was going through your mind when you did it?
I wanted the guys around. And making this run in the playoffs, what you really found was over the last month and a half, you just become really close with the guys, the staff, the players. It becomes your family. And when you have moments like that, you want to enjoy them with your family. Certainly, Nina and my kids have been, unbelievable during the last couple months, and really the whole season have just been strong. But then when you think about the family of your team, you're spending way more time with that family than you are your own family. And for all of us to kind of enjoy that moment together, because we wanted something to show for all the hard work. I mean, the amount of work that's been put in to get to this point, I mean, it's exhausting. It is. But we wanted something to show for it. We wanted that trophy. We wanted to have a big ring, and now be able to tell the story of this team.
How did that impact the enjoyment or the feeling that you had last night?
I just think you enjoy it a little bit more when you know that you've been through, trials and tribulations along the way. But that's part of the job, and makes it all that much more enjoyable. But more importantly for the players, the amount of work that these guys have put in, and just the way they played, the execution, the physicality. Late in the season, he played 16 games for the first time ever in college football, and just went on the best run in college football history, in my opinion. And now have cemented themselves in Ohio State history.
What was the inflection point that allowed you to play at that level?
I felt like we were, building towards it the entire season, and there were points of the season we didn't play that way, but we were always knocking on the door that way. We wanted to be great. We knew we had to find the right mix of scheme and the way that we were playing and our chemistry in all three phases. But this playoff system allowed us to grow and learn about our team and build, and that's exactly what happened.
It was a really poor route that was run on one play last night. After the game in the bowels, when you guys were riding to the media availability, very poorly designed route by the golf cart driver, and you crashed into a wall. Right. I mean, our operations people, now look, I'm not a coach, our operations people say that golf cart never should have been facing that direction. It should have gotten leverage the other way. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that probably some pass interference call or something right there, because I mean, my neck is still out of whack. I think I'm going to send the medical bills to the CFB or something, because man, oh man, we went hard into that wall. But that's good. It was about the way the game was played. It was physical, it was fast, it was violent, and there was some collisions going on.
Did you think in the moment, we've talked about physicality, we've been through all this emotionally, and now we've wrecked the golf cart?
Well, we were going to run and hit all night, and so we ran and hit that wall pretty good.
What did you do last night to celebrate?
Just, enjoyed it with family, with some of the guys, with staff, and then obviously with Nina and the kids. That's it, and that's what life's all about, and enjoying the great times together. And accomplishment, because it's been a long road. It has, and these guys deserve all the credit.
It seems like a really long time to you, I'm sure, but I think back over guys that I've covered in my career who waited a really long time as a head coach for a championship. Sometimes this is more of a basketball thing, I guess, but Jim Boeheim, Jim Calhoun, and once they got them, they've said that everything changes when you are not just a coach pursuing a championship, which I know you'll do again next year, but you're in the club among coaches who have won one. How do you think that will be different?
I don't know. But
does it feel validating at all? Do you feel validated or different because you won?
I think if you judge yourself based on results, then you can start going down that road. But to me, it's all about the process. It's about the work you put in, and obviously the results are feedback on how your process is going. But I felt like there was, some plays in 19 and 20 and you know, along the way where it's like calls and like, you know, 1 or 2 plays where you say, what if, what if, what if? And going into the season, the message was leave no doubt. Don't leave it to one play. Don't do that because it can ruin your whole season. And so easier said than done, but ultimately we left no doubt at the end of the season.
How does it impact your vision of your future as a coach now, as what you'd like to do, maintaining drive, keeping culture, replacing great veteran leaders, all of those things?
I think this team shows us that, you know, one, loyalty and faithfulness will always be rewarded, and that's exactly what happened to these guys. And you know, the reason you get into coaching is to watch young people reach their dreams and goals. You know, the trophies are great and all that, but that's not what this is about. And to watch these guys reach their dreams and goals, and hopefully, you know, some young, you know, high school players watching the way this team came together and the culture that we have at Ohio State and wants to join in this brotherhood because it's a special brotherhood. And we just want to keep building on that and growing on that as time goes on.
When you and I visited right before the playoffs started, we talked about how you might reevaluate you look at a singular game, particularly Michigan. Now there's tangible evidence. You didn't win that game, and so what? You got this. How does that impact your evaluation of how that game should be approached?
Well, this will be the 9th national championship in Ohio State history, but this is the 3rd one in over 53 years. So I think that is what's special about this group. I mean, there's been some great teams over the last 50 years at Ohio State. Only 3 of them have rings. And, you know, while we look back on this season and recognize the difference in the playoffs and just see, like, the run that we went on from, you know, the Tennessee game at home and what, you know, you got a chance to see what that was like. And there was a lot that went on there, and that was a very good team. And then to go out to Oregon and play that in the Rose Bowl, then to go to Texas and win at Texas in the Cotton Bowl, and then to come here. I mean, that's like a lifetime of games right there in a month and a half. And so, you know, every year is going to have its own story now as we grow in the playoff system. It's different now. And it's been quite a journey. And that month has been a special month because you just spend so much time with each other and you can build momentum. And it's similar now, I feel like, coming out of it to the way that the NFL is and the way those playoffs are, just the way that it's set up. And I know there's going to be a lot of adjustments moving forward. But it was a lot of fun.
Will you reevaluate maybe the emphasis and the all-encompassing thing where, for either side, it becomes this existential crisis based on the result of the game?
Well, the game's always going to matter, but when you look back on, you know, what that game meant to, you know, getting to the national championship or your season, it has a little bit less of an impact in terms of the playoffs. It's never going to have any less of an impact just on, you know, the 2 programs, but it's you know, certainly you know, a new time in terms of this playoff system, and you know, there's going to be big games along the way that you know, can shape where you end up in the playoffs. But I'm excited to see what the changes are that are made in the playoff system. You know, are we going to go to a bigger you know, bracket? I think we need to take a hard look at a lot of things. Going through this the first time.
Such as?
Well, you know, we just finished this game on January 20th. There's only 4 NFL teams that played longer seasons. We started before them, and we ended, you know, later than them. So it's a long season, and to have the overlap of when classes start and have your incoming. We had 145 guys in our team going into you know, the last 2 weeks. Classes started for us 2 weeks ago. I mean, between the portal and everything that's gone on, like, I think we really have to look at the calendar. I think that we need to take a hard look at the player experience. There's a lot of things in there that I think we need to take a hard look at, and some other things as well. You know, the locations of some of the games. There's a lot to learn from the season.
Would you be an advocate for more home playoff games?
I think based on when the games are played, yes, I would. I do think that's something that we all need to consider, yeah. And then organizing games, if not at home, you know, close in proximity to where the higher seeded team is.
So more of a neutral site, but if you're the higher seeded team, you play in your region.
I think
something
that
like that.
I think that, you know, when you look at we have great examples of this. We have the NFL playoffs, which I think there's a lot of things we can take from that. But then we also have like the NCAA tournament, and we can take some things from that to use that, they've been doing it for a long time, and it just makes sense to start to, use some of these other examples to make it better.
How would you describe the state of college football? Playoffs great, Ohio State exhilarated, but you talk to a lot of people who say everything else is going on. All good with the players getting paid, fine, but the sort of lack of uniform structure has made it difficult to navigate for some. How would you describe what it is?
I mean, frustrating is probably a fair word to use. I think for coaches, we like structure. We like to know what the rules are. We like to know exactly what we're dealing with. We're dealing with gray on a constant basis right now. And I give our university, I give our administration, I give our athletic department a lot of credit for being able to adapt with the times. Our coaches, our players. I mean, there were so many bizarre things that were going on even in the last couple months. Guys who were in the portal but also playing for our team, just so many different things, but we were able to adapt with the times. But there's a lot of things that need to be addressed, and I think a big part of it, we've got to get structure on this thing in terms of, having something in place that ultimately can set the rules and enforce the rules, and someone that's making hard decisions that can be exercised in quick order. I think right now things they take too long to get done, and when you're dealing with so many different conferences and so many different schools, they come from different areas of the country. They all have different sizes. They all have their different set of things that they're dealing with. But ultimately, we need something in place to organize it, whether it's a commissioner. I actually think having three commissioners would be the ideal situation. That's easier said than done. But when you have three, you can have, 2 against 1. You can, or obviously a consensus to make these big decisions. Right now, it's hard for that to happen because of the structure that it's currently in. So I think all these things have to get done here pretty quickly because, college football is moving along fast. It's like a locomotive, and we all can see the potential of what these games were. I mean, this was a blast this last month and a half, but in order to put more structure on this, I think we need to put more structure on this. That's the bottom line.
The head coach at Ohio State always has a platform and a voice, but now a national championship coach at Ohio State carries some clout. What's your role in helping advocate and implement some of these changes?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I need to do a good job of doing that very thing. Start giving some more thought to having a louder voice and giving my opinion on what we see at Ohio State and how to make this better. And using some of the former coaches that I have relationships with, that I have a lot of respect for, that can help along the way, because we all love this sport, and the players and the play on the field's never been better. But where it's going, we've got to make sure we're doing right by the game.
As a final thought about this team, if you look at the 12-team playoff bracket, either in the playoff or in the regular season, you beat 6 of them. 6 of the 11, with Ohio State obviously being the other team. What does that mean for this team's legacy beyond just the team that won the playoff?
Yeah, I think it's the best run in the history of college football, the wins and the resilience that these guys showed to continue to push. But when the bracket was set, we were like, okay, well, we put ourselves in this situation, but we knew if we got that first win, watch out, because this team was dangerous, and we knew that all along. But we had to come together on our own. We knew we had the talent, but talent doesn't win games. It just doesn't. And we came together in a big way. We caught some momentum coming off that Tennessee game, and once you have momentum, you got to keep it. We kept it throughout and played our best down the stretch.